Hey guys, welcome back to Boots and Bunny Homestead. We're going to make just some down home goodie today, and we are making homemade chocolate chip cookies. Now there's a variety of recipes out there for chocolate chip cookies, and let me give you a little tidbit of a secret. When I was in high school and I wanted to make some cookies, it did not matter what type of cookie I made. I always burnt them, and I burnt them on the bottom. The top would still be raw. They would be crunchy on the outside. I mean, everything but good, until I figured out some little tips and tricks along the way as I got older and was venturing out to cooking more. I've always cooked from scratch. I just wasn't always in the season of life to do that. So a lot of times, you know, when I was raising my littles, I would cook stuff out of the box, or I would buy that cookie dough, and I would, you know, slice it and all that good stuff. And so when I got to the point of getting back to making things more from scratch, now that I have more time, but to where the point that the kids can help me, I learned some tips and tricks along the way that they were kind of self-taught, as to I had to research them and figure out what was going on. So a couple of things. First of all, I want to thank Vevor for today's video. So the first tip in cooking or baking cookies, I want to tell you, of course, number one is to make sure that your oven is preheated. If you have a regular heated element, a coil element in the bottom that heats your oven, make sure that you have it preheated first, because when you put the cookies in, and if that element is still on the bottom heating the oven, it's going to burn your cookies. Second of all, the temperature of your ingredients does matter. Now, with that being said, some things you can do, like if you put in warm or room temperature items and then make it back cold, they actually cook better. Or some things maybe you want a certain way. Maybe you want to keep them warm or keep them room temperature in order to achieve the desiredness of your element that you're cooking. Then you want to keep everything room temperature and then bake them. So there's a couple of different ways you can go about getting the desired, say we're doing cookies, so the desired cookie crumble or softness or something like that, that you can do these little tips and tricks to achieve the desired elements of your cookies. So one thing is with butter, if it's warm or if it's, you know, room temperature or melted, the warmer your butter is, the flatter your cookies are going to be. I learned that because mine always came out just like flat as a pancake, not even fluffy, flat as a pancake, and you could see the chocolate chips in them. It looked like little mountains sitting all over the slop of dough that we called a cookie. They were chewy, they were edible, they were fine, but they weren't these cake-like cookies that I had desired. So along the way, I learned that to put in your butter room temperature, and keeping the butter cooler was going to give you a thicker, fluffier batter and a fluffier cookie. Now to get a really fluffy cookie, so like these on this package here, that picture, what you want to do is you actually want to do what I'm going to do, and we're going to fix these this cookie dough, and then we're going to put it in the refrigerator, because that's going to harden up the butter and actually turn the butter back cold. So it's room temperature when we mix it, but then we're going to harden it back up. And that way it's kind of like, you know, when you make croissants or when you laminate butter into dough or something like that, you have to keep it cold in order for it to hold its layers, or, you know, to hold its shape, to hold whatever you are cooking, and it being that light and flaky and crispy item that you're making with the butter. And it's the same thing with the cookies. So we're actually going to make our room temperature dough and then put it in the refrigerator, and that's going to give us these thick, fluffy, cake-like cookies. Now if you want to go even farther and make them more cake-like, you might want to add an extra egg and decrease your water just a little bit. That's going to give it more and whip it too. You want to whip the the butter and the egg and the sugar. You want to cream it all together, but you really want to whip it, and that's going to give it more of a cake-like feature. So depending on how you like your cookies, you can use any recipe and turn it into any desired cookie texture-wise that you prefer. Now if you want a harder cookie, cook it a minute or two longer. If you want a chewier cookie, you can actually decrease the temp time by about a minute or two before it actually gets brown. Just before you start seeing it turn kind of tan around the edges, when you know it's starting to get done, then go ahead and take it out, and that'll give you more of your chewy cookies. So if you have a recipe that you like and you just ain't got it right, try those tips and tricks to achieve your desired cookie of any recipe. But we are going to use mine today because it is our favorite. And if you've been around here long enough, you know that I go searching recipes. I'll write down 3, 4, 5 different recipes, and then I go through and I pick out what I think would make the best and kind of combine them all together, and that's what happened with this one. So I will have the recipe typed out down below, and if you hit under the video, if you're on a phone or a computer, there is the title. Right up under it, it gives you some details or whatever, and there's a more button. If you tap on the word more that has a ... after it, it will drop down that description box and you will find the recipe in there. I have several people that have messaged me over, I don't know how many videos we've done, over 700 or 800 videos, and I always have people to comment, where is your recipe? And I'm like, it's in the description box. Well, they don't know to click on the more button, and more drops down. And a lot of times if you're on a phone or something small, if you're not careful, you will actually click on the shop button, which we do not incorporate into our videos, but it'll say that this link is not available when you're actually hitting the shop button and not the more button. So just be careful of those. Keep those two things in mind so you can go find my recipe and enjoy eating some delicious cookies. So let's get to making some cookies. So what we are using today is a Vevor stand mixer with a tilt head, stainless steel bowl, and adjustable knob. It has on the side a digital screen for your speed, your time, and adjustments, as well as a suction cup bottom where it attaches to the counter and is non-slip. The tilt head adjusts by switching the knob downward, and it will lock in place as it goes in the up position. The bowl unscrews and reattaches to secure it in place. All of the attachments you will lift and twist and remove. You see they have a locking mechanism there on the arm of the lifted head. It comes with a paddle with a scraper and a whisk and a dough hook. As well as its own plastic and silicone spatula. And then you will see to lower the head, you will do the same lever, lower the head, and it will pop back into place as soon as it is in the correct position. Thank you, Vevor, for being today's sponsor, and on to the recipe. So we're going to start by adding 3/4 cup of sugar, 3/4 cup brown sugar, packed, and 1 cup of butter softened, and this will be 2 sticks of butter. And then we will add 1 teaspoon of vanilla and 1 room temperature farm fresh egg. Lower the head and get ready to mix our dough. The knob here is going to be what we adjust for the speed and the time that it takes for this to run. So we can set the time to how long we want it to mix, or it can tell us how long it has been mixing. So we want to adjust it, and as you see right there on the top, it gives you different instructions on the speed to use for the different things that you can make. And to this, we are going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 pinch of salt, or about 1/8 of a teaspoon, and 2 1/4 cups of flour. And as you see here, that when the dough is really thick, there is a safety mechanism that will stop the machine so it doesn't burn up. And now here is where you want to add about 2 cups of chocolate chips, or whatever add-in that you want to put in your chocolates. This could be nuts or coconuts or whatever you like. Then we're going to slowly mix it in. Now that my batter is all done, I'm actually going to put this in the refrigerator overnight to harden up. We have preheated the oven to 375. I have crumpled my parchment paper to make it easier to lay out on the cookie sheet. And then I'm getting like a 1-inch ball, 1.5-inch ball of cookie dough, rolling it into a ball, and then kind of flattening it out like hamburger patties. To the well. Now, as you will see here, these cookies are a little bit darker than most will like, because we have some people that like crispier cookies and some people that like cheerier cookies. So I just put in my second batch, and I'm going to set my timer on this one to be a little bit less. And then you'll see here, for my preferred cookie, will be just as it turns tan around the edges. Tell you, I leave the kitchen for 10 minutes and I come back, my cookies are disappearing. So, I guess that means they're good. Of course, I know that. I hope you know that. But here is one of the cookies, all gooey and chocolatey and melty. So thank you guys for stopping by, checking out this easy chocolate chip cookie recipe. Don't forget the tips and tricks I give you. And don't forget to check out the Vevor mixer that I have linked down below. Thank you, Vevor, for sponsoring this video. And we will see you next time, guys. Thank you, and bye-bye.